Find the sum and product of the roots of the equation 5x squared plus 11x minus 3 equals 0. So we have a typical second order polynomial, and we want to find the sum and the product of the roots. So what are the roots? The roots are the solutions. The roots are the values of x that make the equation true. So the first thing we think when we see a trinomial like this is, can we factor it? Well, it doesn't appear to be an obvious way to factor this one, right? There's no, if you wanted to separate this out into two binomials, it would be hard to think of what numbers would work. So you can try to use grouping, right? You can multiply the a term, a is 5, b is 11, and c is negative 3. You can multiply a times c and get negative 15, and then think, hey, what multiplies to negative 15 and adds to 11? But it's hard to think of numbers that will work for that. So don't spend too much time trying to factor it. If you can't do it, move right into the quadratic equation. X equals minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And before you dive right in, figure out what the discriminant is first, because that will tell you the nature of your solutions. So just work out b squared minus 4ac. What's that going to be? Well, in this case, b is 11, so 11 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 3 equals 121 plus 60, which is 181, right? So what's under this square root will be 181, which, by the way, is a prime number, so you can't simplify the square root of 181 at all. You can try, but alright, so the roots are x equals, we're just substituting into the quadratic equation now, so we have minus 11 plus or minus square root of 181. We figured out the discriminant. And by the way, just as a reminder, we said the discriminant is greater than 0. That means there'll be two roots, and they'll be different, because the discriminant, if it's non-zero, then it doesn't go away. So there's going to be minus 11 plus something and minus 11 minus something. Okay, so that's minus 11 plus or minus square root of 181 over 2a, which is 2 times 5, which is 10. So I'm just going to write 10. So those are solutions for x. So rather than writing it as one solution, x equals minus 11 plus or minus radical 181, let's write it separately as x1 and x2, so we can see two separate and distinct roots. So the first one would be negative 11 plus radical 181 over 10, and the second one would be negative 11 minus radical 181 over 10. And now we want to find the sum and the product of those two roots. So let's work out the sum first. Sum is simply adding the two together. So minus 11. Oh, and by the way, they have a common denominator, so we can add the two numerators together and just keep it over the same denominator. So minus 11 plus minus 11 is minus 22. And plus radical 181 minus radical 181 is just 0, right? Positive plus a negative. So there's those two cancel out, and then this is still over 10. And that simplifies to minus 11 over 5. And that's the sum. So we just did this part. And now we want to find the product. How do we find the product? We have to multiply the two together. So let's actually write that out so we can see what's going to happen. We have minus 11 plus rad 181 over 10 times minus 11 minus rad 181 over 10. And remember, when you're multiplying fractions, you can multiply directly across. So you do numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. When you're multiplying those two numerators together, they're both binomials, so we have to FOIL. So let's go ahead and FOIL this. Minus 11 times minus 11 is positive 121. Then we have plus radical 181 times negative 11, so that's minus 11 radical 181. Then we have minus 11 times minus radical 181, that's plus 11 radical 181. And then we have radical 181 times negative radical 181. So what's a radical? Radical 181 times radical 181 is just 181, right? So this is minus 181. Right? And this whole thing should be over this whole thing should be over 10 times 10, denominator times denominator, which is 100. Now what do we notice about this numerator? We have minus 11 radical 181 plus 11 radical 181. Those two are going to cancel right out. And then what we're left with is 121 minus 181. That's negative 60 over 100. And if you simplify that, you can divide by 10. So it's minus 6 over 10, which is the same as minus 3 over 5. And that is the final answer for the product. So that's the product, and that's the sum.